Hello, welcome back to my session. My name is Abdul Ghani Abdul Aziz. Today, we will be taking ourselves through Excel pivot table. So, what do I mean by Excel pivot table? So, when you have a large data set and you want to bring out insight from the large data set, sometimes you might be finding it difficult to use your Excel formulas. You might be thinking, it is prone to error while you're using your formulas. Excel pivot table is one of the most useful and powerful features in Excel. You can use them in summarizing the data stored in a table. They will organize and rearrange the statistics to draw attention to the valuable facts. You can take an extremely large data set and see the relevant information when you use Excel pivot table. So when you're trying to use Excel pivot table, you must ensure that your data has a column header, there is no empty columns or row, and there is no total or subtotal rows in your data set. So let's say you have a data of this and you want to find the total sales by product, and also you want to know the total sales by customer. You want to know the customer that has the highest percentage contribution to your total sales. So you have this data. When you have this sales data, it will be very, very difficult for you to give this to your boss and tell boss, your boss should start doing the filter and start saying, okay, for this region, I want to know the total sales for this. No, this is not good. That's where Excel pivot table comes in. So if you're to use Excel pivot table, let's say you click on your insert Excel pivot table from table of range, you would notice that Excel is smart enough to select the range of your data set for you. Excel is saying this is pivot table from A down to J down to row 44. But there is a disadvantage to this. When you include more data sets to this, how would you want your pivot table to automatically pick the new data? So, the ideal situation or the best thing you need to do is try as much as possible to ensure that your data is in Excel table format. What do I mean by Excel table format? You can just come down to your home, then you format as a table. The shortcut is Control T. It will ask you, does your table has headers? So my table has headers. If you feel you don't want this default table format, you can just come down here and choose any table format you feel like using. So I'll decide to use this. One of the good habits you need to have at the back of your mind is always try as much as possible to name your table. So now I've named my table as sales data. So my data is now in Excel table format. So in my data, what do I have? I have the order dates, the company name, the region, manager. I have the unit price, the unit sold, and the sales amount. So let's insert the pivot table. You go to your inserts, you click on your pivot table from table or range. You would notice that Excel picked the name of my table, which is sales data. I want my pivot table to be on a new worksheet. If you want your pivot table to be on an existing worksheet, you can equally select an existing worksheet. But for this session, let's try to use a new worksheet. So this is my new worksheet. I hit my OK. So you would notice that you're having your pivot table fields towards the right corner of your Excel. The default settings is like this. The fields are always under your headers, but to ensure that you're seeing all the fields, I would advise you always put your headers at the left hand side, then you put the field by the right hand side. So what do you want to view with your pivot table? So what I want to view is the total sales by my product. I want to know the total sales that came in through my product. What do you need to do? Just go to your product. I want my product to be on my row, and I want to know the sales amount. This is how easy pivot table would make this easy for you. So you know the total sales amount. You might also decide that you don't want to see the sum. You say, okay, I need to know the count of my products. You can, as well as changing it here, go to the value feed settings, then you would see other options here. You have the sum, the count, average, but for now, I want you to do the sum for me. You can as well go further and go back to your pivots. I want you to insert pivots, go to your pivots table. Since I already have an existing worksheet, I want you to put it on an existing worksheet. Excel is asking you, what is the location you want this to be? I want it to be on my sheet 4. Then I hit my OK. So what do I want to view now? I want to know the customer with the highest sales amount. What do you need to do? You can just bring down your customer. Where is my customer? This is my customer name. I put my customer name on the row label. These are my customers. I want to know the sales amount. This is the sales amount. So I already know these are the amounts discovered from each customers. You might decide to sort it from the highest to the lowest. How do you do the sorting? You can just right click on your pivot table. You'll say sort from largest to smallest. It has sorted these out. You can also know the percentage contribution of each customer to the total sales amount. How do you do this? You can click the sales amount on your values again. You can see it's showing you sum of sales amount too. But what do you want to do? You right click. I want you to show values as percentage of my grand total. So I already know that Mr. Olorunfemi has the highest contribution to my product. He has the highest contribution to my company. So using pivot table will actually make it easy for you to bring out insight from your data. You can easily summarize your data. In the next session, we will take ourselves on how to use pivot table